Welcome to Spiritual Astrology. I'm Allison, and today we are going to cover the astrological transits and spiritual themes for August 25th to August 31st. So the eclipse is this week, Friday, August 28th, and just before the eclipse, Mercury enters Virgo, trines Chiron, and conjuncts the Sun. Then we have a very powerful eclipse that is square Uranus. So it's very dynamic, disruptive, and definitely filled with a lot of change. So here's the lineup. On August 25th, Mercury enters Virgo and trines Chiron. 2 days later, on August 27, Mercury conjuncts the Sun for Mercury Cazimi at 4 degrees. Then, 1 day later, there's a full moon lunar eclipse, and Mercury will square Uranus, the Sun will square Uranus, and a few days after that, on August 31st, Jupiter will trine Saturn. So Mercury in Virgo is sharp as a tack, and this is a good week to hunker down and focus on what needs to be done, taking care of work, yourself, getting your life in order, because you can often get things done faster when Mercury's in Virgo. It's easier to utilize your skills, mark things off your to-do list, and accomplish a lot in a short time. Mercury in Virgo is a planner. This is a good time to set out what you want to accomplish before the year ends. Make a timeline that's realistic with small, actionable steps for each task, and think about the time it takes to do each task and if it's realistic in the time that you have. So you may have to put certain goals on hold while you focus on one important goal, or alternatively, you could be getting many things done at once. And that is supported by Jupiter Trine Saturn this week, August 31st, just 3 days after the eclipse. It's a very important transit that I'll get into, but this is going to help you find the time, the energy, the focus, the inspiration to move forward on your long-term goals. Jupiter trines Saturn 3 times, and this is the first of 3, but it's all happening in the midst of this eclipse. And like I said, it is a disruptive one because the Sun and Moon are both square Uranus in Gemini. So let's get into the eclipse. The Moon is at 5 degrees Pisces. The Sun is at 5 degrees Virgo, so locate that in your chart. This is a full moon lunar eclipse that happens at 12:19 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on August 28. And the Sun and the Moon are opposite each other, creating a push-pull between these two houses in your chart and between these two energies of Virgo and Pisces. So your Pisces and Virgo houses are being heavily activated. We had eclipses in 2024 and 2025 in the Pisces Virgo houses. So think back to these dates and what transpired, because there could be developments around those same topics, and they could reemerge in new ways that you didn't expect. September 17, 2024, we had a Pisces lunar eclipse at 25 degrees. And then on September 7, 2025, at 15 degrees Pisces, we had a lunar eclipse. And now August 28, 2026, at 5 degrees Pisces, we have another lunar eclipse. So this is the last Pisces eclipse in that series. And what makes this unique is that it's squaring Uranus and Gemini. So think about what's happening in your Gemini house as well, and we will get into that. But let's first start with the Sun and the Moon. The Sun is at 5 degrees Virgo, and with Mercury that's at 5 degrees Virgo, and the South Node at 29 degrees Leo. The Sun was just conjunct to Mercury the day before the eclipse. A Mercury Cazimi signals clarity, a breakthrough, or a mental understanding. So you might receive a message the day before the eclipse about something that's ended, something that is over, a direction that you want to go in, a new direction away from what is old and what no longer fits, because that South Node in Leo is showing you where the energy no longer fits. It could be a relationship, a job, something inside yourself that's changed, a shift in your desires, in what you want. That Virgo energy wants to bring your attention to something in the real world and in your physical reality, like your job, your daily responsibilities, work, things you have to take care of, money. Also your skills, how you utilize those to help people, to make life orderly, to improve your flow and your health and your daily routine so you can get your tasks done and achieve your goals in life. That Virgo energy is a very important part of life, and we need Virgo energy to help us focus on what matters and not get our heads stuck in the clouds. Virgo brings us down to reality and what's happening in front of us. So you want to tune into your body this week. Virgo is about the body and the physical world, and your body talks to you. Pisces is about the spiritual world and letting go of earthly matters, going higher, tapping into a higher way of managing your energy. So it's about finding a balance between what you're managing in your daily life, in the physical world, and balancing that with your spiritual self, what you're sensing, absorbing, and ready to release. Now, on the opposite side, the Pisces full moon is with the North Node at 29 degrees Aquarius. Full moons are about culminations, endings, things peaking and being illuminated. Full moons represent high emotions, and they show you the results of something that you've been manifesting. The Pisces area of your chart is where you're very intuitive, private, withdrawn. You may need to get quiet to understand what's coming through and what's being illuminated. This is where you tap into your intuition, what you're sensing about what's ended. The North Node at 29 degrees Aquarius is showing you where you're headed next, where the collective is going. And you could have a fateful message come through, a download about what's next, a breakthrough. There can be a development around what is or what has ended, and it leads you to focus more on where you're going next. And possibly a clue about next steps, what energy to embrace. So be open to enlightenment and sudden understandings. Like I said, you might need to get quiet. This is not a one and done thing. The energy's been building. And this full moon in Pisces represents more to that story, and then it will continue to build more and evolve. This is the last Pisces eclipse in that Pisces Virgo eclipse series, like I said. So I expect a big ending. The final eclipse is actually February 20, 2027 at 2 degrees of Virgo. And it will also be a lunar eclipse. The Virgo lunar eclipse will then conclude the Pisces Virgo eclipse series. Pisces is all about endings and release. Pisces represents the last sign of the zodiac. It's where we withdraw and reflect and let go of what no longer fits, what we don't want to bring into the next cycle with us. And it often comes with higher messages, compassion, forgiveness of yourself and others. And that's how you let go and let new energy in. Now, the ruler of the full moon is Jupiter in Leo. Jupiter in Leo is a powerhouse of creative energy, self-expression, passion, and personal desire. So what is calling your name? What has recently sparked inside you that you really want? How do you want to be seen, admired, and respected? How can you become a leader in that Leo area of life? Jupiter in Leo is showing you where you can learn more, become wiser, tap into your talents, expand that area of life. It means bringing in something new, not going after the same old thing. The reason for that is that the old won't fit in the new world. That South Node in Leo is showing us that. So any old ego trips, old masks that you used to wear, anything not authentic is being called out to let go. So while that can be uncomfortable, Jupiter in Leo is helping you tap into a new desire that sparks the motivation and energy to go after something new and express yourself in a new way. This also brings attention to leaders in our community, in our government, entertainment business, in our personal lives, leaders in our family, at work, basically people who are in a position of leadership. There will be a fall from grace. More leaders will be showing their true colors, and it can instigate a lot of shifts and changes in power in the collective and in your personal life. Now, the most striking aspect of this eclipse is that the moon and sun are square Uranus at 5 degrees Gemini. So Uranus in Gemini is the apex of the opposition between sun and moon. So if you have anything at 5 degrees of the mutable signs, you're going to feel this eclipse. The square to Uranus is bringing in a disruption, but also something possibly exciting. You might feel a desire to break free or liberate yourself in some way. Mercury is at 5 degrees Virgo, also squaring Uranus, so there could be shocking news or information that spreads quickly, causing a reaction, increased excitement, something unexpected, possibly with transportation, air travel, your daily routine. You could have a change of plans. You could receive upsetting news or shocking news. Uranus has the power of an earthquake, and it disrupts what you thought was stable and reliable. That's what it's here to do. So think about those houses, the Pisces and Virgo houses. Anything not on solid ground is going to get shaken up. Same with your Gemini house. And change can be upsetting, but ultimately, these are the types of changes where you look back and you realize it's what catapulted you into something new and fresh, something connected to your future self and your future path. That's the power of Uranus. Now, the sun squaring Uranus can result in events that challenge your will, your determination, your ego, your sense of self. You might be forced to do something that you don't want to do. This is when people want freedom to express themselves without restriction, without limits. So dealing with authority could be triggering this week. It could result in unexpected outbursts from some people, drama, rebellion. It might be hard to stick to your regular routine because of disruptions or changes or chaos or even accidents. That sun in Virgo will square Uranus and Gemini 7 times total between August 24th and September 20, 2031. So this is the second one, but it's happening at the eclipse, so it's amplified. The first one happened August 24 of last year. So there is something developing between your Gemini and Virgo houses all the way into 2031, because Uranus is in Gemini, and every time the sun moves through Virgo, she's going to square that Uranus. And it's going to bring in the unexpected changes that affect your sense of self, your ego, and your confidence. And it is highlighting your freedom and how you feel limited or where you want to break free. And this process can help you develop more inner strength, more purpose, and help you break free from things that are holding you back. But it can also bring in anxiety and uncertainty. That's sun square Uranus. It can bring in a restlessness because that Uranus in Gemini is fast moving and filled with twists and turns, things that you can't predict, and it affects everyday life. So you're going to feel it, and it will be harder to have a normal routine over these next few years. So you have to stay flexible with Uranus in Gemini. Now, 2 days after the eclipse, Jupiter will trine Saturn for the first of 3 total trines. And that's between Jupiter in Leo and Saturn in Aries. It happens August 31st, April 3rd, 2027, and July 11, 2027. So that's about a little under a year. It's very beneficial, helpful transit. They can catapult your goals into real life manifestations. It can bring in luck, opportunity, wealth, gains of all kinds. It depends on your age. If if you have different goals or directions you want to take, think about your Aries house and what you're building there and how you've changed course. And remember that Saturn and Neptune made that historic conjunction at 0 degrees Aries in February of this year. That helped bring in a new dream, a new identity, new plans for your future. Saturn's about long-term goals. Neptune's influence is on our media, our culture. And this brings in the ability to reach higher for something, make it a real manifestation. So how far have you come since early 2026 with what you've been building and developing in your Aries house? Jupiter represents a personal desire, a new creative passion or inspiration, a new source of motivation or a spark. Jupiter's wisdom, knowledge, growth. And when she connects with Saturn through a trine, she shows you where you can apply your focus and effort to help make that dream a reality. Saturn requires we roll up our sleeves and get to work, be responsible, show up every day, be dedicated to what you want, even when times get tough or there's delays and obstacles. This is where hard work meets opportunity. So if you've been putting in the work and you've been applying yourself every day towards this new direction or project or dream, then the right support will show up for you. But you can also use this transit to establish what you really want, because that Jupiter in Leo might spark something for you. And it is a long-term transit because Jupiter will trine Saturn 3 times over this next year. So you have time to apply effort, and it requires long-term sustained effort, but it does result in success. So think about something that you want to manifest, be open. A few days after the eclipse, something might come through and you feel the endurance and the motivation to continue. It's satisfying. Maybe there's a clear picture that comes through. That Saturn can bring in practical elements that are necessary to keep going. It could bring in a reality check that helps you make wiser choices, that can lead you closer to your goal. It could be something stabilizing that comes through. You might feel more clear about what direction you want to take, and you have the energy and the time to keep going. It's very motivating. It's very inspiring. And then that Mercury in Virgo is going to help you see the flaws in your plan, help you weed out everything that's unnecessary, maybe the slow-moving parts that are holding you back, taking up too much time with no return on your investment. Saturn always wants a return on its investment. Saturn wants to invest her time in things that work out, and she has a keen understanding for what is worth her time. So when she meets with Jupiter, it's where that opportunity comes together with an understanding of what is really the plan and the details. Now that eclipse can bring in a big change that's uncomfortable. Eclipses always bring endings or sudden change or disruption. But on the other side is something more beautiful. And a few days after the eclipse, even though we're still in eclipse energy, expect developments around your long-term goals and your plans and your life direction. And pay attention to what happens with that Jupiter trine Saturn that's in your Leo and Aries house. So a lot of things to look forward to over this next week. If you have planets in the early degrees of the mutable signs, which are Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, and Sagittarius, then you'll be directly impacted by this eclipse. And if you have planets or points in the late degrees of the fixed signs, Aquarius, Leo, Taurus, and Scorpio, you will also feel the eclipse. And the houses that are activated this week are Pisces and Virgo through the eclipse, plus Gemini, because both the sun and the moon in Pisces and Virgo make a square to that Gemini, plus your Aquarius, Leo, and Aries houses. So I hope that this has been helpful. And just remember to stay flexible during the eclipse. And if you are manifesting, just be in the energy that you want. Your vibration is a choice, so choose the vibration that matches where you want to go next. Take care, and I'll talk soon.